the guys, especially those who are married or those who are thinking about getting married. Now, there's a little scripture that basically is found in Ephesians 5:25, and it says, "Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ has loved the church and gave himself for it." So you need to understand your responsibility, of course, when you are in an interpersonal relationship, especially with the ladies. And you got to go into every simple relationship this way. It's simply this, that you are entering that relationship to create a and the word that we use often in the area of love is, of course, eros. There are four words in the Greek that are talking about love. First of all, of course, most of us think about eros, and that's the word that often comes into, of course, relationships, and that's that romantic type of love. That second word that they use in the Greek is storge, which means, of course, friendship love. Filio is the same as well. You are a friend or a family member. Those are the two words. And then, of course, we have agape, which is, of course, unconditional love. Now, the way that it's broken down when it comes to love is, first of all, yes, you should be a romantic partner with your spouse. You need to be that. But secondly, you also have to be and look at them as a member of your family. You know, it tells us in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, that a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. That means that the two become one flesh. It's interesting that in God's mathematics, now man's mathematics is this. I've often heard people say, well, it's two people bringing 50% into the relationship and then they have 100%. No, it's 100% both ways. That's how it's supposed to operate. You're supposed to be, of course, the accountability partner for your spouse. You're supposed to be as well someone who keeps them honest and truthful and helps them walk with integrity and transparency and also with wisdom. That's the whole issue right there. So what you do is you bring 100% to the equation. Now, the way that Paul puts it this way is, are you willing to give yourself 100% to your spouse? Are you to honor them? Are you to cherish them? Are you to love them? Are you to protect them? Are you there to meet their needs in every area of their lives? It's 100% both ways. And what's going on these days is a lot of guys are abdicating their responsibility on this one. And you say, well, what do you mean by abdicating their responsibility? The problem we have going on today is a lot of guys really don't know what it's to be a man. You know, I know that there's this feministic idea about what a guy is. But you know what? Guys are, first of all, strong. They're strong in character. They're strong in ability. They're strong in confidence. They should know what they want and how to get it. And that's very important. And that just doesn't happen over time, folks. You know who the greatest mentors of that is? Dads. Dads, listen, this is very important. Dads actually give 85% of self-esteem. If a dad is involved, and it's absolutely imperative, statistics show it over and over again. They've done so many surveys and different studies and reports on this, and it's absolutely clear. If a dad is involved in a relationship with their children, 9 times out of 10, that child is confident. That child is, of course, balanced. And you got to have the balance. You can't have it out of balance. You have to have the nurturing that comes from the mom. And you got to have the confidence that comes from the dad. That is the real issue. And it has been proven over and over again. And if part of that element is missing in a child's life, they are going to be an unbalanced person. And one of the things that you have to realize, and this is really important, if a girl is going to get involved with a relationship, they're often looking for someone similar to the characteristics and natures of their dad, especially if they have a strong, confident dad. If they have a kind of a wishy-washy type of, abdication responsibility, guess what? They're going to be looking for a guy like that. You don't want to be a part of that. Let me give you a little lesson from my own life. When I first got involved with ministry and doing ministry, I got so involved in my church that one day I came home and my son, who at the time was about, 18 months, maybe 2 years old, just learning to talk, said, "Hi, Pastor Daddy." I realized right in that moment that my son associated what I was by what I did and not who I was. I was his dad, but in his estimation, I was a pastor first. So I sat down after supper that night, and I had a real conversation with my wife. And I said, "Honey, listen, is it true? Am I spending too much time at the church and with the church?" She said, "Yes, you are." She says, "You're hardly ever home." And because of that, she says, "I've been raising the kids basically by myself." And it was right then and there that I knew that I had to invest in my family. And I had to make sure that my kids knew that first and foremost, I was their dad and that I had something to bring to the table. Now, every night, my wife and I, after that, we made sure that I was home for supper. I always was home for supper, and we had a meal together. It was interesting that not that long ago, I was sitting at the table with my youngest son and his 3 children, and I was watching them interact together and how that they had such a wonderful relationship. So I asked my son, I said, Ryan, I said, how did you guys get this? And he said, "Dad, I watched you." And I had a little conversation with my wife, or my daughter, I should say, let's say about a month ago. And I was watching her kids interact and how that they were doing the very same thing. And I said, "Rachel, where did you learn this?" She says, "I learned it at home. I learned it with you and Mom, how that you guys made, supper a priority." And so we model and mentor our kids. We're supposed to be those examples. Now, Paul says you need to love your wives as Christ loves the church. So number one, you gotta be a lover to your wife. And you need to be there and demonstrate it. And I'm not just talking about, once a month we're going to get together and have a little bit of nookie. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about continuous acts of kindness and acts of love. Show your wife that you love her. I'm talking to the guys today, of course. And I remember what Larry Lee used to say. He says, "If I can't do anything else," he says, "at least I'm going to kiss my wife 1 minute a day." I thought, yeah, that's right. Secondly, be their friend. Friendship is an absolutely wonderful thing. It was about 3.5 months ago. My wife was driving down the road with me. I was driving her to work that day. And she looked at me, she says, "You know what? I think that you're probably my most favorite person to hang out with." I thought, wow, since 1979, I've been married to this woman, and she still thinks that I'm the best and funnest person that she ever was with. That's great. Be a friend. Secondly, remember, they are your family. To become one. That's the way that God intended it. And lastly, have unconditional love. Love is always shown. It's not just talked about. You can tell somebody, "I love you," but they're actually looking for a demonstration, especially the ladies. They're looking for an actual demonstration of that. And guys often say, "Well, she knows I love her. I go to work and I provide for her." That's good. I'm glad. That's one way of showing it. But that's not the only way of showing it. Be there. be a support, because the ladies seem to do it relatively a lot easier. At least my wife does. And of course, it also depends on how ladies are raised as well. Guys have got to be inactive. I have my two sons, both have daughters, okay, and they are actively involved in their daughters' lives. And I am just absolutely amazed how those my granddaughters are just well-adjusted ladies. And the reason is because their dads are involved in that. I watched both my sons do their thing, and I just absolutely amazed. And I asked them, I said, "So where'd you guys learn that?" They said, "We watched you, Dad. That's how it happened." I made a decision, and the after that little incident, that I was going to be involved in every aspect of the kids' lives, and you need to be as well. That's the most practical way of showing love today. Do it. That's basically, remember, do it, man. So that's my thoughts for you today. Well, my name is Robert Dean Steele. If you like what you've been hearing, I always encourage you to press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Guys, do it. Remember, be a friend, be a lover, be family, and love unconditionally. Little thought.